My name is Jenny, and for the longest time, I thought I was lucky to have Georgia. She wasn't loud. She wasn't openly cruel. She didn't insult me in ways people could easily point out. Instead, she wrapped her words in concern, in fake care, in phrases that sounded protective, but always left me smaller by the end of them. Georgia liked to say she was watching my back. That was her favorite line. At first I believed it. I trusted her. When you've known someone for years, you don't question every comment, you internalize them. And Georgia was very good at making her criticism sound like wisdom. She would laugh lightly in group settings and say things like, "Jenny's great, but she gets nervous under pressure." Or, "She's talented, but sometimes she doesn't present herself confidently enough." Always but. Always framed like advice. Always delivered with a smile. And every time people would nod, because Georgia sounded reasonable, helpful, concerned. After meetings, she'd pull me aside and say, "I didn't want to embarrass you in front of them, but I thought you should know how it came across." She'd say it gently, like she was doing me a favor. What I didn't realize then was that she never lifted me up, only trimmed me down to her size. She commented on my clothes. "Maybe something less bold next time. Don't want to stand out the wrong way." She commented on my ideas. "They're good, but maybe let someone else lead. You don't want to look pushy." She commented on my confidence. "I just worry people might misinterpret you." And slowly, almost invisibly, I started shrinking. I stopped speaking first in meetings. I second-guessed ideas I used to trust. I asked for Georgia's approval before decisions I was fully capable of making, because she was my friend. And friends don't sabotage you, right? Except Georgia did. Just quietly, strategically, consistently. She positioned herself as the balanced one, the professional one, the person who understood how things really worked. And I let her, because I didn't know what healthy friendship looked like. Then Leah joined the company, and everything changed. Leah was different from Georgia in ways that confused me at first. She didn't correct me. She didn't warn me. She didn't subtly compare herself to me. She supported me publicly. When I spoke, she nodded. When I had an idea, she expanded on it instead of shrinking it. When I doubted myself, she said, "Why? You're good at this." That was it. No disclaimer. No but. And that's when it hit me. Slow, uncomfortable, undeniable. Friends don't dim you to feel safe. They don't disguise insecurity as protection. They don't make you smaller and call it care. Georgia had never been watching my back. She had been watching my position, and she wanted it. Once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. Georgia's advice started sounding different, sharper, more calculated. I began noticing how her concern always appeared right before moments where I could shine, and how it always ended with her subtly stepping into the spotlight instead. She had one obsession, the promotion. Everyone knew it, even if she pretended otherwise. She talked about career growth and timing, but her actions told the real story. She lingered near the boss's office longer than necessary. She laughed too hard at his jokes. She volunteered for visibility, not responsibility, and every time I came close to something good, Georgia tightened her grip. Before presentations, she'd say, "Just a heads up, this client is really intense. Maybe don't lead with your ideas." Before reviews, she'd warn, "I heard leadership wants someone more assertive. You might not be there yet." It always sounded helpful. But Leah noticed. One afternoon after Georgia had once again advised me to step back during a discussion, Leah turned to me and said quietly, "Why does she always talk for you?" The question landed like a punch. I didn't have an answer. That's when I started preparing differently, not just for work, but for Georgia. I stopped sharing drafts with her, stopped announcing opportunities early, stopped asking for her opinion, and right on cue, her behavior shifted. She grew tense, competitive, passive-aggressive in ways that were suddenly less sugar-coated. Compliments came with sharper edges. Smiles didn't reach her eyes anymore. Then came the client meeting, the big one, the one that everyone knew could influence the promotion decision. Georgia volunteered to help me prepare. She insisted, pushed, framed it as teamwork. I said yes, not because I trusted her, but because I wanted to see what she would do. The night before the meeting, she sent me suggestions, changes that weakened my points, notes that subtly undermined my authority, a proposed agenda that positioned her as the voice of reason if things went wrong. Old me would have followed it. This time, I didn't. Because Leah had done something Georgia never did. She believed in me without trying to own my success. I prepared my own version, stronger, sharper, backed by data Georgia didn't expect me to bring. And I walked into that meeting ready. Georgia didn't know it yet, but her favorite tactic was about to fail for the first time. The conference room felt colder than usual that morning, not because of the air conditioning, but because Georgia was already there, seated closer to the head of the table than necessary, laptop open, posture confident. She smiled when she saw me, that same familiar smile, sweet on the surface, sharp underneath. "Ready?" she asked. I nodded. What she didn't know was that I wasn't just ready for the client. I was ready for her. The meeting began the way all high-stakes meetings do, introductions, polite small talk, surface-level agreement. Georgia jumped in early, just like I knew she would. She reframed points I had previously shared with her as concerns. She spoke carefully, positioning herself as cautious, reasonable, senior. Then she did it. She turned to the client and said lightly, "Jenny's been leading most of this, but I just want to add some context in case anything feels unclear." That was her move, always. In the past, that word would have rattled me. I would have rushed, over-explained, shrunk. This time, I smiled. I opened my presentation, my version, not the one she had tried to water down. And I took control. I spoke slowly, confidently, I answered questions before they were even asked. I referenced data Georgia didn't know I had. I handled pushback calmly, without defensiveness. When the client challenged a point Georgia had earlier tried to soften, I addressed it directly, with clarity and authority. Georgia tried to interrupt once. I continued speaking, not aggressively, just decisively. And something shifted in the room. The client leaned forward. My boss stopped typing and started listening. Georgia went quiet. For the first time, her presence didn't dominate. It hovered, uncertain, unnecessary. When the meeting ended, the client thanked me by name. That had never happened before. As people filed out, Georgia lingered behind. Her smile was gone now. "That went well," she said. I nodded again. And for the first time I didn't feel the need to explain myself to her. The silence after that meeting was louder than anything Georgia had ever said. No follow-up messages. No great job, team. No casual debrief where she usually reframed events in her favor. She disappeared into herself, and that alone told me everything. In the days that followed, something strange happened. People started coming to me directly. Questions, clarifications, requests for input. Not through Georgia. Not filtered. Not softened. My boss asked me to lead the next client call. Leadership looped me into emails I'd never been copied on before. My name came up in conversations where it never used to. Georgia noticed. She tried to course-correct the only way she knew how, by increasing visibility. Longer hours at the office, louder agreement in meetings, laughing a little too hard at the boss's jokes, offering to help everyone, everywhere, all at once. But something had shifted. People had seen competence without commentary, confidence without sabotage. They had watched me handle pressure calmly, without needing to step on anyone else. And they had watched Georgia not. The promotion announcement came on an ordinary Thursday afternoon. No drama, no build-up, just a calendar invite titled Career Progression Update. Georgia walked in smiling. I could tell she still believed it was hers. My boss didn't waste time. He talked about leadership, about trust, about someone who could represent the team without undermining it, someone who handled clients with clarity and ownership. Then he said my name. For a split second, the room froze. Georgia's smile cracked, not dramatically but unmistakably, like a mirror-line fracture spreading across glass. She clapped, slowly, a little too stiffly. Later she cornered me near the elevators. "I guess preparation really paid off," she said, voice tight. I met her eyes, calm, steady, unshrinking. "Yes," I replied. "It did." That was it. No speech, no confrontation, no revenge monologue, just truth, finally standing where sabotage used to live. The promotion didn't just change my title. It changed the air around me. Georgia tried to pretend everything was normal. She congratulated me publicly, praised me in meetings, even offered to support me in my new role. But something fundamental had broken, the illusion that she was above me, protecting me, guiding me. Now she had to answer to me, and that terrified her. Her behavior became sloppy. The sugarcoating disappeared. She interrupted others, took credit too openly, corrected people unnecessarily. The careful mask she had worn for years began slipping under pressure. Leadership noticed, not because I complained I didn't, but because patterns reveal themselves when someone stops covering for you. Meanwhile, Leah stayed exactly the same. She didn't change toward me once I was promoted. She didn't compete. She didn't reposition herself. She celebrated me like my success didn't cost her anything, because real friends don't see your growth as a threat. One afternoon, during a performance review discussion, Georgia tried her old trick, undermining someone for their own good. This time, a senior manager stopped her mid-sentence. "Let's hear directly from Jenny," he said. And just like that, years of quiet sabotage ended. Georgia eventually transferred teams. Some said she asked for it, others said it was suggested. Either way, she lost access to the space where she once felt powerful. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt free. Free from doubt, free from shrinking, free from mistaking insecurity for friendship. Leah and I still laugh about it sometimes, not cruelly, not vindictively, but with relief, about how easy it is to confuse control for care when you've never been shown better. And that's the thing I wish I'd known earlier. A real friend doesn't warn you about yourself. They remind you who you are. Georgia never wanted me to fail loudly. She just never wanted me to succeed fully. And the moment I did, I realized I had outgrown her long before the promotion ever arrived. Months passed. Not the dramatic kind. No shouting matches, no public downfall, no apology text at 2 a.m. from Georgia admitting everything. Just distance. And distance, I learned, is often the most honest ending. In my new role, I started seeing things from a different height. Patterns, dynamics. The way certain people always position themselves near power instead of purpose. The way others quietly carried teams without needing applause. Georgia's name came up less and less, not because she was being punished, but because she was no longer relevant. That was the part no one warns you about. When someone builds their entire identity on being above you, they have nothing left when you stand beside them, or beyond them. I heard through office whispers that she wasn't happy in her new team, that the charm didn't work the same way, that managers asked follow-up questions now, that people didn't defer automatically. Turns out, when you're not sabotaging someone anymore, your own gaps become very visible. Meanwhile, I flourished, not loudly, not performatively. I mentored juniors the way I once wished someone had mentored me, without backhanded warnings, without public concern, without ego disguised as care. I made space instead of competition. I gave credit even when I didn't have to. Leah once said something that stayed with me. "You didn't just get promoted, Jenny, you stopped needing permission." She was right. The biggest promotion wasn't the title, it was trusting my own instincts again. It was realizing that the voice telling me I was too much or not ready had never been mine. Georgia taught me something valuable, just not the lesson she intended. She taught me how insecurity hides in helpful language, how sabotage wears a smile, how some people don't want to hurt you, they just want to limit you. And she taught me this too. When someone keeps you small for your own good, it's because they're terrified of how big you'll become without them. That day in the client meeting wasn't the moment I won. It was the moment I stopped doubting. And everything after that, that was just life catching up to the truth. The real proof didn't come from another promotion or praise or success metric. It came on a random Tuesday. I was walking into the office kitchen when I overheard two newer employees talking. They didn't notice me at first. "I like how Jenny runs meetings," one of them said. "She actually listens." The other replied, "She doesn't make you feel stupid for asking." I froze for a second, because once upon a time that was me, the one made to feel small, second-guessing every sentence before speaking, wondering if I was missing something everyone else seemed to understand. And now, I was the reference point for safety. Later that day, Georgia crossed my mind for the first time in weeks. Not with anger, not even with satisfaction, but with something closer to neutrality. That surprised me. I realized I no longer replayed conversations with her in my head. I no longer wondered what she would say, how she would spin things, or whether I was imagining her intentions. Her voice had lost its power because my own had grown louder. Leah and I went out for coffee after work. We talked about normal things, weekend plans, books, small annoyances. At one point, she smiled and said, "You know what I love about you now?" I laughed. "Now?" "You don't explain yourself anymore." She was right. I didn't justify my confidence. I didn't soften my achievements. I didn't shrink to make other people comfortable. Georgia would have hated this version of me, not because I became arrogant, but because I became untouchable, not defensive, not reactive, not seeking approval, just solid. And that's how I know this story isn't really about her. It's about how easy it is to mistake familiarity for loyalty. How long we can stay in relationships that quietly erode us, and how powerful it is to finally meet someone who shows us what respect actually feels like. Georgia thought keeping me small would keep her safe. Instead, it taught me how to grow. And that's a lesson I carry into every room now, not with resentment, but with clarity. Because the most satisfying ending isn't watching someone fall. It's realizing you don't need to look back at all.